Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be making a multivitamin and mineral extract. Now I did do a video a year or so ago on this, but I wanted to do an updated one because this is going to be things, I can't remember what I put in last year's blend, which is actually sitting right here. This one for sure is going to be all from things grown right here on my own property, and I had a couple of ideas I wanted to throw out to those people who are interested in trying this in different ways that you can make your extract. Alright, what I have right here is some marshmallow root. This is one from that first plant, one of the big ones that we harvested back in the early spring, and I'll go ahead and link to that video right up here if you'd like to see it. That was a pretty big marshmallow root, and we plan on harvesting, pulling up another one or two here real soon, so I'll be drying up more. So I also have a video on how to dry your marshmallow root. It was at the time I was doing it was a little bit of practice. I had to kind of figure out what was the best way, and I think at the end of the video I did go over what I found to be the best method for cutting, drying, and all that kind of stuff. So you want to watch it all the way through to the end. And then here are some dandelion roots grown again right here on my own property. I find it best, I've tried it both ways, for here to wait until early spring when the dandelions from the year before first start growing again, and then I pull them up. I usually get some big long roots, and I will link to the video I did a couple years ago right up here. I have tried doing the fall ones, but the roots aren't as big, and because they're actually the newer dandelions. Now it is said that the best time to harvest your dandelion roots is in the fall, after they've had all summer to soak up the sun and lots of nutrients and stuff. But I find personally, it's going to probably depend on your area, I get the best dandelion root when I do it in the spring. And it's much easier for me to harvest them in the spring. And then right here I have my mixed greens blend. This was from 2017. I haven't blended my greens yet for 2018. I'll be doing that soon, and I'll be doing a video on that so you can be watching that. But if you want to find out what is in this particular blend, each year it changes a little bit. It just depends on what I have the most of growing at the time. But I will go ahead and link to how I made this one right up here so you'll know what all is in here. I know for sure a few things I'll just list off the top of my head. I never can remember them all, but it's stinging nettle, grape leaves, strawberry leaves, beet greens, kale, and all kinds of wonderful greens that are growing in there that are high in vitamins and minerals. And that is why I like to do this, and why I like to, the mixed greens blend I use in meals, and all throughout the year, almost every meal, whether it be soup, gravy, casseroles, doesn't matter, the mixed greens go in there, so it's another way that we can get this goodness into our diet all year round. But then also using in my multivitamin mineral extract is another way we can really up our vitamin intake in its natural form. Alright, so I'm going to put my nice little stainless steel canning funnel over my canning jar, and let's get started on putting the stuff in there. Now the amount that you use in your jar obviously is going to depend, first of all, how big your jar is. I'm going to make a whole quart because I want it to last us for a whole year. Do you hear that? That was well sealed. And then the amount you put in is entirely up to you. It's, this is just a way, this isn't a medicine. This is just a way to get more vitamins into your diet on a daily basis. So I'm going to put in, let's say as much as, it looks like about a quarter cup of marshmallow root. That doesn't mean that's where I'll stop on it. I usually like to see what all I'm going to end up with. And about that much again of dandelion root. Yeah, a little bit more. And then the main ingredient is going to be the greens. And besides, the greens take up more room where the roots are more condensed. So obviously less of those is, it's not as necessary to get as much of those in the jar. And then with my greens, I like to get it, to where the jar is at least halfway full or better. And again, what you use and the amounts you use are up to you. We're not worrying so much about it being exact because this isn't a medicinal extract, though it can be. It is more about getting the vitamins and minerals into your diet on a daily basis. and more often throughout the day. So what I have here is my homemade apple cider vinegar made from apples from our own trees. So this is everything that I'm doing here all came from my own garden, other than the sugar I needed to get the vinegar fermenting, which when it's done, there's no sugar left in it. You have to have sugar to make vinegar. So I'm going to just pour it right over my herbs and get that jar topped off. And if you're interested, you're new to my channel and you want to know how to make vinegars of any kind, I have all kinds of vinegar videos. I've changed the way I do it throughout the years. And so I will link to, up here in the corner, my most recent vinegar making video. And hopefully you'll be able to see by that, that is the best method I've come up with yet. And that will also show you that there's many options for making vinegar. You don't have to stick with just apple. You can make it from any fruit. You can make it from scraps. You can make it from herbs. You can even make it from trees. I've used all kinds of great things, flowers, for making vinegars. And one thing I definitely want to say is if you decide to make a peppermint vinegar, that's a really excellent one for using in making, whether it be medicinal extracts or an extract like this, because it helps give it a better flavor because of the strong peppermint flavor that's in there. So you can see I've been stirring it down with the chopstick, or you can just use a long skinny wooden spoon. And you know, obviously the herbs are going to be soaking up, because they're dried, they're going to be soaking up that vinegar. And so you got to keep adding it as you go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this aside and let this, and just kind of come back and stir it every so often. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to add more vinegar to it as I go. So we're just going to let that sit and soak that vinegar up. And let's move on to last year's vitamin extract, and we'll start straining it out. So what I have here is my glass measuring cup. I prefer glass when I'm doing this. I do actually prefer using mesh, a plastic or nylon mesh over metal when I'm dealing with anything vinegar wise, but that's going to be up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with. Stainless steel really shouldn't be a problem if you can find a strainer, a fine mesh strainer that's actually in stainless steel. So anyway, I'm going to pour the herbs and the vinegar concoction right into the strainer. Oh, and by the way, I will link to the strainer set below if you're interested. Okay, and then you can just take a wooden spoon of some sort. I can also link to these below. I think they're kind of cool. They're bamboo, but whatever you've got, and just start pushing that through there. And you will probably end up with little bits of herbs in there. If you want it more strained out than that, then simply put a piece of cheesecloth over your strainer, or just a clean piece of cotton fabric, and that will get all those little bits out. I don't mind all the little bits. Mostly I'm just trying to get most of the clumps out. And then what you can do with your herbs, I don't know that the chickens will eat this, but you can just simply compost them at this point. Okay, and then I'll just go ahead and fill up a clean mason jar, and then this will be the batch we'll be working on throughout this year. It actually would take us probably, a few months to work through this if we remember to take it on a daily basis, which I don't always remember, but which is why this has been sitting back there for so long. But typically in the wintertime anyway is when I'm most concerned about making sure that we're getting extra vitamins and minerals, because we're not getting all the fresh goodies straight from our own garden, and some things we do have to rely on store-bought stuff, and so I want to get stuff, as much of my own garden goodies in our body year-round. And so what I do is typically we will take a whole shot of this, and since it's just vinegar, it's not alcohol, it's totally safe. It's safe for the whole family. You can take less if you want. It's just up to you. Usually my extracts, my vitamin extracts, turn out much darker than this, so I'm surprised it's so light. I think this other one's going to turn out darker. I might not have put as much herbs in this. And then another thing you can do is you can take your eggshell powder. I've got a video on eggshells and the benefits of those. If you don't choose to make capsules out of them, you can just take your powder and just put a spoonful of it. A teaspoonful typically will equal 1 whole eggshell. And I will put that in there and then just drink the whole thing down. You might want to stir it a little bit, otherwise it'll end up in a clump in your throat. I know I've done that. And if you cannot handle the taste of vinegar at all to take it like that, another option you can do is you can use the glycerin, the food grade non-GMO, very specific. You need to make sure you get the non-GMO because typical glycerin, unless it's labeled otherwise, is made out of genetically modified products. And so look for that. This is the one I get. I buy it in the 2-gallon pack because it is the best cost overall, and this is all non-GMO. Now the nice thing about the glycerin is it will give it a sweet flavor, and that will be more palatable to children especially. Or you can even consider doing a blend of the glycerin with the vinegar, which is what I was thinking about doing this time. However, what I'm trying to look at doing more and more is going with the most sustainable way that I can make extracts and tinctures, and that is by using anything I can grow in my own garden and anything that I can make myself, such as the vinegar or the homemade wine and things like that. And so this is the most sustainable way for us to do it, but the tastier way is going to be using the glycerin. So if you decide to use the glycerin, use 1 part water to 3 parts of the glycerin. Otherwise the glycerin is just too thick and syrupy that it's not going to blend really well. So you need to water it down. And I had somebody ask me what I meant by parts. The reason I say things in parts, because it's going to be up to you the size you make. You simply take the parts and do your math from there. So if you're, let's say you're wanting to fill up a whole quart jar, you might need as much as 4 cups total. So what that would mean, of course with all your herbs and stuff in there, they're going to take up quite a bit of room. But let's just work in 4-cup increments so that you can understand what I'm talking about here. So if I need a total of 4 cups of the solvent, what I need is 1 part water, which would be 1 cup, 3 parts glycerin, which would be 3 cups. If I'm needing to do maybe just a cup, maybe I just need a cup of the liquid, then I'm going to do a 1/4 cup of water to 3/4 cup of glycerin. So that would be your 1 part to 3 part ratio, and it's typically written like this, so that you'll know when you see that, when it looks like that, that is what that means. Okay, let's come back to this. See how it looks, and it's just about there. It only needs a little bit more vinegar, and there we go. Okay, and now I'm going to put my lid. I like to use the Tatler lids when I'm doing any kind of extract with a vinegar base, because the metal, there tends to be a reaction of the metal and the vinegar that I find disturbing. But if you have glass, like maybe you can, I would also recommend using your Fido jars for this. I don't even know why I didn't even think about that. Now that I got the Fido jars, you just get in the habit of doing things a certain way. Those would actually be better yet because they have a nice seal to them and they're all glass, and that would be the best. But anyway, I prefer the Tatler lid over the metal lid if I'm not going to use the Fido jar. And I have it labeled, and you can do the exact date if you want. I always put, since it's going to sit in there for a while, I always put the month and the year. Just like this one that I just emptied out said 11/17, so I did it last November. This is going to be 10/18. Of course, by the time you see this, it's going to be 11/18. And then the amount of time I let it sit, and again, this is going to be up to you, is going to be at least 2 months. If you let it sit longer, it's not going to hurt anything. But if you're, the sooner you're wanting to use it, I say 8 weeks minimum. You could go less than that if you want. Some of it's going to depend on what kind of herbs and stuff you use. Now, another thing I recommend, and I was going to do that and I forgot, is you can also add your elderberries in there. Add some of your homegrown elderberries in there, and you can get that'll up the vitamin C content as well. But all these greens and stuff, they are just really high in all kinds of vitamins like A and K1 and C and so on, and the minerals that we tend to find ourselves most lacking, such as magnesium and manganese, potassium, and so on. So, and if you're iron deficient, which I am not, A lot of these are high in iron. And so look at your different herbs, look at your different roots. What do you got? It doesn't have to be all homegrown. If you need to purchase them because you don't have a garden yet, or maybe you're not growing all these things, then just you can buy herbs online. A couple places I recommend that you look for some herbs is you can go through Amazon. You can even just go through our direct link. That's just a store link, and if you want to shop through Amazon, that actually helps us out a little bit. Another good place, if you can't find organic herbs, and if you're looking on Amazon, go for Star West or Frontier if you can find them organic. Those are my two favorites that I find on Amazon. Another great place to find some already dehydrated herbs and greens and stuff like that, even dandelion greens and roots, is Mountain Rose Herbs. And that's actually fairly local to us because it's down in Oregon. And so that's a really great place. I purchased, before our marshmallow got to the point where we can all harvest all our own root, I actually started buying my marshmallow root from them for a pretty good price. Okay, well that's it on how to make your own herbal multivitamin and mineral extract using whatever you have on hand, or more if you want to. Okay, well I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.